Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Promoted channel. I appreciate you joining me today. This video is going to be the first in a 4-part series over the next 2 weeks, where we cover what jobs are the most secure, looking at the data from a layoff perspective, so which ones are least laid off and which ones are most laid off. We're then going to look at careers in demand, so which ones are in the highest demand and which ones are in the declining demand. And then we're also going to do 2 videos on skills. So we're going to break that into hard skills and soft skills. Hard skills being things that are very tangible, technical, think software development, project management, finance. These are going to be hard skills. Soft skills are going to be more along the lines of communication, collaboration, problem solving, etc. So things that are much more people to people or much more mental or emotional. That's the way to think about this. So with that, if you like this video, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell. But let's dive right in with the first video here being about which positions are the most laid off and which ones are the least laid off. So effectively in the current market, which jobs are going to be the most secure? So again, this is not about demand. This is strictly going to be about layoffs based on the current situation. So when we're looking at the ones that are the most laid off, the way that I look at this is going to be a little bit of harsh language, but it's going to be criticality based. So businesses, when they're looking at layoffs, are going to look at the people who are most revenue driving, and they're going to be the ones that are going to stay versus the kind of optional positions that are less critical to the business operations and generating that revenue or affecting the bottom line or keeping the operations going. Now, the thing that's a little bit different in the current day and age is we are in a technological revolution. When you look at AI, automation, and overall digital transformation companies are going through. So we're in a little bit different of a scenario where not all of the current major layoffs are centered around business criticality, but it is just sometimes that it is critical, but maybe has been replaced by technology or is being replaced by adopting technology. So there's a little bit of those two. We'll dive into each one in particular. And then on the flip side, this will also feed into why some of these positions are going to be the ones that are the least laid off, is because they are either super critical to business operations or they are not able to be replaced by technology or AI. So getting into our tangible examples here. So the first one in terms of the most laid off role are going to be things that fall under the administrative and office support. And so what you're looking at here is this is definitely an effect of the current technology and digital age. So when you're looking at things like administrative assistants, or you're looking at back office staff that are organizing tasks, taking notes on meetings, maybe are just communication facilitators, a lot of this is being done by AI and automation behind the scenes. Take something, for example, that most of us can relate to if you travel for work, whether it's on a frequent basis or not, but something along the lines of travel expenses. A lot of this is being automated by AI and technology. You can use your phone, use an app, submit it. It automatically then sends an email to the approvers. They approve, sends it to finance. They do their thing. It's just an automated workflow now. It's not necessarily being done by what was previously an assistant or a low-level finance person or maybe your direct manager, these sorts of things. So people that fall into this category of the administrative staff or office support definitely are highly at risk and are the ones being most laid off. So what we can do here is realistically, you need to look at a career pivot if you are currently in this career, or if you are looking to enter this career, you might want to think twice. So really, if you're on the administrative assistant side, I would actually look at going to more of an executive assistant, with the key differences there being less facilitation of communication and more of a execution on behalf of the executives themselves. So you're kind of becoming an executive light, is the best way to phrase that. You are making the decisions on behalf or making decisions for the executive themselves before they even know they need to make it. And then when it comes to the other general office support staff, that a lot of this is being handled by software or applications. One thing you can do is learn to manage that software. So you don't necessarily need to develop a whole new skill set, but it could just be learning to develop a technology. That is, ordering supplies or managing those workflows and automations for purchase approvals and accounts receivable and things like that. So there could just be a level of upskilling technologically as opposed to entirely re-upskilling yourself as a professional. The next one is going to surprise most people because this is where a lot of people go to maybe when they just need a part-time job or those sorts of things. And it's really going to be the customer service representative. I actually saw a prediction that AI is going to be replacing the significant offshore call centers. They didn't really give a percentage, but they said the majority was the prediction by the end of 2025. And in general, when you look at things like Salesforce Agentforce or HubSpot is developing theirs, I forget what it's called, that they are not just simply chatbots, but they're also natural language chatbots. And the thing with Salesforce Agentforce, which is the largest CRM globally, they are adding voice support as of February in 2025. So it's not just going to be a chatbot, but it's going to be something that's answering phones, responding vocally, and actually having conversations with customers. And they aren't the first. There's other companies out there like Ada, and there's another one that's escaping me at this point. But AI is being combined with voice to overtake customer service representatives, not just from a chat perspective, which already is reducing upwards of, depending on the company and their operations, 60, 70, 80% of overall tickets in the customer service representative staff. You add voice in there, now you're talking 80, 90, maybe even 100% replacement. So definitely over the next 12 to 18 months, as this technology becomes much more adopted and solidified, CSRs are really going to be impacted, and they're already starting to be impacted in larger organizations that can afford to be forward thinkers and first adopters of this type of technology. So this one, really, I think that CSR is just not going to be a viable career path. I think you need to look at something entirely different in the next 12 to 18 months. That's my personal suggestion. Is I don't think this is like the previous one where maybe you could do a technological upskill. I think it's very much that you just need to pivot. And this is mostly, I think, going to harm the people that are on the backslide of their career, that maybe are just looking for something to do to fill the time, collect a little bit of a paycheck, not necessarily fully retired, but sort of a pre-retirement type of scenario, or the early career, right? I mean, when you're looking at either people that are maybe still in high school or they're doing this through college, or even as, a first, second job type thing. Or maybe this is actually genuinely what their career path was, looking to move up in this realm, getting into the management and leadership and things like that around customer relationships and operations. I think that this position itself is going to be eliminated. And if this is your career path, then you need to jump more to the project management leadership side and learning those skills, which will be in actually the later video that's coming out next week about the skills in demand. I think trying to develop leadership more and then gear that towards customer service specifically is going to be the best way to go here. But this entry-level customer service representative position, I think, is largely going to be gone globally in the next 12 to 18 months. This other one shocked me, which is manufacturing and production workers. And this one, because the reason it shocked me is because I've had a lot of clients in the manufacturing sector where they are in incredible demand. They are finding roles faster than most other industries. The only other industry that I see right now that's competing at the demand of manufacturing is healthcare. And so the layoffs here were surprising, but diving deeper, it's where the layoffs are happening. And the layoffs at the manufacturing and production work are happening on the front lines. And this is due to, again, a little bit of that AI and automation, but it's more on the robotics side that are eliminating a lot of those front lines, on the line, physical, tangible production systems. And those people who were once in those roles are now having to either upskill into a leadership management, or they're having to learn the technology that manages those robotics and automations. So it's one of those two things that will protect you if you are passionate about manufacturing and this is your industry, and especially if you're pretty deep rooted in this industry. Starting to learn the technology element is going to be key here. Now, there is a level of offshoring that's happening in this realm as well. I would be curious that how much offshoring is going to continue with the political change. That is supposedly a goal of the upcoming administration, is to reduce the amount of offshoring that the U.S. is doing. I think whether or not that actually will occur remains to be seen. So I don't know that you can truly safeguard yourself against that one. And I don't know that the overall economic shift within the country that's going to happen. But what I can say is more on the technology side is focus less on simply being that frontlines worker and begin to ask questions and learn about the technology that's happening for you to then manage that, or look at what other competitors are doing and look at robotics they're adopting and things that they're purchasing in ways that they are automating, and propose that to your company, propose that you become the expert and have them invest in you in that regard. The next one is probably not surprising because it's been happening, I would say, almost for the last decade or so. At least the last 5 years has been on the decline, but retail salespeople. And this is nothing other than the fact of when you just look at the growth of e-commerce as opposed to brick and mortar. When you look at the likes of Amazon, Walmart, and I know associated to Walmart is Sam's and everybody that's just going digital. They're doing online sales. It's much more convenient. It saves people money. It actually saves the companies money as well, because in exchange for, all of the rent and salaries and those sorts of things, they just need to pay for warehousing, which is going to be cheaper than the other side of the equation. So it actually saves everybody's money, which drives the cost of goods down, which then on the customer side also makes our lives better because things are cheaper. They get here faster. We have to invest less time in terms of going to the store and getting it and so on and so forth. And so this is one that retail is not going to be a safe bet anymore. I think if you want to adapt in terms of working for these companies and still being a part of general direct-to-consumer type of goods, then I think that really your best bet is to get into something around the logistics realm, or getting something into more of the business operations side and being a part of the innovation in terms of the transition from brick and mortar into e-commerce. I think that that's the best career path, that if you are in the middle of this career, like I myself, I started at Best Buy. I started in retail, and I knew people that were heavily invested in that career on their path to being GMs and regionals and department managers and these sorts of roles. I think those will somewhat largely stick around, but instead of being a GM of a store, you'll be the GM type concept of a warehouse, or instead of being a regional, you will oversee the logistics operation for your particular region and how the shipping and handling and receiving and payments and all that happens in your region of that given company and where you're at in the world. So I think pivoting again, pivoting out of the direct retail sales, people to people, and more into that operations and business. I think that's going to be the key, that if you, again, are passionate about the retail sector and you had yourself set on a path of, I'm going to be retail, and then I'm going to be a department manager, and then I'm going to be a GM, and work your way up that traditional realm with these companies. Because I don't think most of the companies are going anywhere. I think it's just more of the brick and mortars themselves going away, from what I've seen on the data. And the last one of most layoffs is going to be a little bit shaky for some people and is going to be empowering for others. And that is, regardless of industry, regardless of anything, middle management is shrinking. And so depending on the company size that you're in, this is going to be people with the title of manager, senior manager, and if they're a large company, could even be up to director. This is that section of what people are considering middle management. And it's because a lot of what they were doing historically is now being able to be done or facilitated by higher management more efficiently with technology, where before you would need someone boots on the ground for that day-to-day operations of those 7, 10, 15 people, depending on the department size that you were looking at. You can now facilitate communication and operations through technology, automation, and tools with a VP or even that director level. Again, it depends on size, but this is definitely targeting that manager, senior manager position for most companies. And people that are going to be, like I said, VP, executive level, are pretty much going to be safe from this. And then directors are kind of that questionable depending on your company size. So I think the biggest pivot out of this is looking for ways to analyze the difference between senior management and middle management. And the key differences here are going to be strategy, planning, business acumen, these sorts of things. And so if you are in these middle management roles, don't think your position is going to die tomorrow. But what we're looking to do is for you to develop a little bit more of those business acumen and strategy, finance, budgeting, these skills, and then kind of proposing yourself to enter into these scenarios within your current company in order to solidify yourself and be ready for that promotion. If not, go ahead and get it out of the middle management realm as companies begin to flatten, because this is being eliminated by, like I said, technology, automation, and overall digital transformation. And it also allows direct comms between the true quote unquote visionaries of the company at that senior leadership level and the front lines. It just eliminates the telephone game. So that's why this is overall happening. And so to recap here, top 5 most laid off roles, according to the data, are going to be administrative and office support, customer service representative, manufacturing and production, retail sales, and middle management. Now we get into the safest role. So again, this isn't anything to do with demand, but this is just looking at the data of layoffs and going, who's laid off the least? And some of these are probably not going to be shocking for the most part. But these could be things that if you are open to a career transition or are in those, top 5 most laid off, maybe looking for something else, or if you're just a new career, early career person in that high school, college, about to graduate, those sorts of concepts, and you're maybe wondering what to go into. Again, this isn't about demand, but this is about safety for the time being. And the top 5 least laid off roles are going to be healthcare professionals. So as I mentioned earlier, the people who I have worked with in the coaching side of the equation that are just constantly in demand are healthcare professionals and manufacturing workers, with the manufacturing being on the leadership side. But when it comes to healthcare, it's actually going to be both the admin side of the equation, so the people who are handling the operations, who are trying to increase patient care levels, those sorts of things that are more, again, on that back office of the hospital and healthcare scenario, because physicians themselves don't go through this type of training. This is very much an on-job training, or people who are coming from outside industries and entering healthcare that are fulfilling this role. And then the actual practitioners themselves. So nurses and physicians and medical technicians. A lot of people left the healthcare industry that were in these hands-on physician roles across 2019 to 2022 due to the COVID pandemic. There were a lot of people who left the healthcare industry just due to overworking and stress. And so it's less about the demand significantly increasing and a lot more about just a labor shortage in this industry. And so they are taking anyone and everyone to catch up and get back to the levels of staff that they were within the healthcare system, because the demand has increased, but nothing to a noticeable greater degree than it has. It's just a standard, year over year increased demand with an increased population, but there's now less workers. So healthcare being on the practitioner and the admin side are crucial and are not being laid off, especially if you are performing well and have good performance reviews. Next one is going to be IT professionals. This is one of the safest realms that you can go into, because a lot of what's driving right now the layoffs and overall companies shifting and flattening and these things that are happening is being done by technology. And so you need technology-oriented professionals in order to manage this, implement it, coach people, train people, make sure it stays up, make sure it stays working. Again, you take the COVID example, that really that solidified IT professionals as being relatively safe just because of the increase of hybrid and remote work. Being able to make sure that your employees can reliably work remotely, you need IT staff to do so, and you need them to be able to support people remotely. So this is a great career. If you wanted to niche down even more, cybersecurity specifically, if this is a career that you're looking at, is going to be huge and is continuing to be huge. It is right now. It's growing in demand. So this is one that I can say specifically cybersecurity within IT is both low layoff and high demand. So that's a win-win across the board. So looking at overall technology realm is going to be a good bet to protect yourself, at least for the foreseeable future, since it's technology itself that's driving this innovation. Another one is going to be education people. And I say people here because I'm not just talking about teachers, but also I'm talking about the administrators, so your principals and guidance counselors and these sorts of people. And then on the, I guess you could lump them in with teachers, but also professors at the college level. And I think the reason here is the education system is trying to figure out how to compete with the shifting technology paradigm that's happening in their realm, which is digital learning. It is online learning. It is coaching. It is mentoring. All these different things. I mean, the coaching business, I think, is slated to increase maybe even, triple digit percentage in the next 10 years. And it's because coaching is happening from people who are experts in a given realm and are coaching people into becoming an expert. And that's a lot more direct of a path than going through a 4-year degree or going through an English class or a history class or whatever, unless that's what you want to be coached and taught on. So the education system is ramping up, I think, on people and are really protecting their people that are the good ones, because they themselves are in competition for the first time. And so they are trying to protect their roles. And as well as there's also the teetering point between students to professors and teachers ratio, that if it does continue to become a more lopsided ratio of more students to single professor or teacher, then the education system itself is going to be even more ineffective in this highly competitive state of transformation that it's in. So this is a very protected role at the moment in terms of it's not being very laid off, as well as it is partially protected by the government and the unions as well. So you have that side of the equation. Overall, let's say I'm going to lump this one in. This might not be the correct category for the next one, but I'm going to say public safety. So think police officers, fire departments, emergency medical professionals, these sorts of roles. I'm going to lump into here as calling public safety. There's a better term. Let me know in the comments. But these people are in immense demand and are not being laid off. And it's because of a lot of the overstress and overwork, similar to the healthcare professional concept I was just mentioning before, to where it's just a labor shortage and trying to protect the people that are currently and able and willing to stay more than anything else. And, overall, when you look at some of these things, like public safety is better than it ever has been when you look at the historical crime rates and also, destruction rates and things like that. It is better than it ever has been. So again, it's not like there's necessarily a demand increase, but there's just such a labor shortage in all of these realms that everybody who is quality, capable, and willing is being protected and is not being laid off. And again, this is going to be a good demand. And the last one that's the least laid off, or in this top 5 of least layoffs, is utility workers. And so this is going to be all of your utilities. This is not agnostic or not specific to just electricity or just for waste management. It is, water supply, electricity, and all forms of electricity, whether you're talking green energy, not green energy, oil and gas, natural gas, waste management, all of it. I've said for a while now that I think blue collar is the next multimillionaire class, because they are in such a labor shortage, in such high demand. And on top of that, they are farther out from being significantly impacted by the AI and digital transformation that's happening, because they require robotics to actually replace that blue collar sector. So it needs that additional level of innovation. And then again, just because the innovation has occurred, then you need to have adoption, and then you need refinement, and then you need perfection. So it's one of those things where while AI can rapidly innovate very quickly because it's simply a piece of software. So when you look at how far ChatGPT has come, for instance, or Claude or Bard or these sorts of AIs in 2 months or 2 years since its public release, robotics is going to be way slower. You're going to have your first rendition of robotics, and then they're going to need to be tried out. And then based off of that, it's going to be feedback and refinement. And then you need to produce better robots. And then, right, so because it takes not just simply a software component, but it also requires a physical component, they're going to take much longer to be replaced or significantly impacted by the digital transformation that's occurring in the white collar world. Everything in the blue collar utility infrastructure realm, I think, is by far the next multimillionaire class, especially if you go the entrepreneurship route on this. It is shown that, I believe, when you compare something like a doctors or high paying engineers, that you take your average plumber that works his way up on a traditional trajectory, from a apprentice to journeyman and so on and so forth, and then eventually starting his own business. It's not until I think it's age 56 or 57 that the doctors and engineers begin to totally outmake the plumber. So it's one of those things where it takes so long for you to ROI on the other high paying career choices. Like I said, like a doctor or an engineer. So utility workers, Again, mostly due to labor shortage, but also high demand. So again, they have both factors working for them, that there's a labor shortage and the demand is not decreasing at all in all aspects of infrastructure. And so learning anything in the blue collar realm and specifically utilities is going to be even better. So what I am really taking away from this when looking at the layoffs versus the least laid off, most laid off to least laid off, right, is we are just in an age where it is not the traditional, hey, economy's bad, we need to get rid of the direct revenue generation roles like it traditionally has been. But instead, we are in a digital transformation age where technology is genuinely competing or exceeding people. So we, as the professionals that are in any world, need to be adaptable. If you are in white collar, your job is either going to be replaced, augmented, or redefined easily in the next 3 to 5 years, if not sooner. So all of us in white collar need to be prepared to adapt to these technology changes. And so just simply, I know it's a buzzword and cliche, but being adaptable in terms of continuously learning, always seeking out what your position or your industry or your general market competitors are doing, and embracing that and proposing it to your company and being that thought leader is going to be huge. The other thing is, if you noticed when you look at healthcare, education, public safety, and utility, these are kind of essential services. They're kind of the baseline infrastructure that allow society to thrive in general, right? We need a healthy populace. We need the technology to run, and we need an educated populace. Without these things, society kind of crumbles. So it's really getting back to the basics is what we're realizing, is that the high value impact on society at large is its foundational positions, is its foundational roles, and those sorts of people. So really, instead of thinking about this hyper niche, high level, big brain type of role, and instead going a little bit more foundational impact to what makes society run, those are the crucial jobs right now. And lastly, and it kind of goes back to what I was saying before with the adaptability, is just simply keeping up with the times, staying informed, seeing what technology is on the avenue, looking at, OpenAI's roadmap for ChatGPT or Salesforce's roadmap for Agentforce, or, just seeing what is out there, looking at, Elon's robotics program and these sorts of things, and Neuralink, and just keeping your ear to the ground on what people are saying, what the timelines are, and what's happening. That can help you be able to adapt and pivot. So with all that said, again, we'll recap top 5 least laid off. So top 5 safest roles. We're looking at healthcare professionals, IT specialists, education professionals, public safety officers, and utility officers. The commonality here, like I said, amongst all these, if you take out the IT professionals, is that really these are the essential foundations of the overall society in the Western world. And so I'm not going to say that these roles need to not adapt and they're not in danger. I think that they are. It's just a matter of time. And a lot of this is due to labor shortage, less about the technological transformation. So I think all 10 roles that we talked about here, most laid off and least laid off, need to be adaptable, need to keep their ear to the ground, and need to stay informed. But you can at least just look at the data and see which ones are most impacted and least impacted. So with that, again, if you like this video, please hit the like button, hit the notification bell, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment below if you have anything else to add, any questions. I will always respond to every single comment, and I look forward to next time. Thanks.